Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LFC Transfer Room. It's the Premier League room today, Friday night Premier League room, with myself, Louis Fell, joined today by Matty and Drew. Matty, how you doing?
Not bad, not bad. It's been a good few days to be a Red, hasn't it? Every bit of luck went our way, so to speak. So, yeah, it's exciting. I'm sure we'll get into that.
And Drew, what about you? How you doing?
Doing good. Champions League draw was way too early for me. It was at 4 a.m. I only get up for games, and when I woke up, I was stoked. So, as Matty said, I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, I'm a happy camper. How about you, Louis?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for asking. Well, Drew, coming straight back to you. Could you have picked a better draw for the Champions League? How are you feeling about it?
I was making breakfast. I wanted to see it live, so I was like a little kid cheering each time the ball came out. But as you said, I don't think you can ask for a much more perfect draw. I think the only thing that any fan would switch would maybe be the home and away leg for the semifinal. But we still got to beat Benfica first, and I think that's just having those two matches with Man City sandwiched in between while they have Atletico Madrid, you can't ask for anything more than that.
And Matty as well, I know you're on call, but your reaction as well to getting Benfica.
It was the best draw we could have had in it. I was fully expecting Man City to get Benfica, to be honest, but it seems like City got the hardest side of the draw. And I've seen most people saying about Liverpool City in the final. I don't think City will get past Atletico, but with Liverpool, it's decent in it. It's a different team. We haven't come up against in the Champions League for a long time. I don't think we've come up against Benfica, to my knowledge. I don't even know how long it is, but it's not something an opponent you see all the time in the Champions League, especially in the quarterfinals. No ties easy. They're in the quarterfinals for a reason. They're a decent side. They have been this year, but they are 12 points off Porto in the league, and we dismantled them. And now we've got Porto's best player as well. So I'm not one bit worried. And I'm also not worried about if we got Bayern in the next leg either, to be honest. I don't even care really which way around them legs are either, because there's no away goals. But I think we do Bayern as well, to be honest. So I think we'll win the Champions League.
Evening, everybody who's just joining us. Evening, Hyla. Evening, Matthias. And evening, Jack Murray. Thiago Fabinho Henderson versus a Delta Raptor and Julia Weigl. Is a Delta Raptor Benfica? Or is that just a completely unrelated comment? Anyway, thank you for getting involved, everybody. And do keep the comments coming. Anthony, how you doing? It says, easy route to the final. Drew, I do want to come to you on that, because I'm just as excited as everybody else. But we've got to remember, we have got to beat Benfica over 2 legs first before we can start thinking about semi-finals, let alone the final, right?
Yeah, I think that's more fans getting ahead of themselves than the team. I'm sure that Jurgen's got the boys all lined up for the next games coming in hand. And, while they probably all rejoiced at the news, or at least were, confident and happy, ready to go for Champions League, they're probably all focused on Nottingham Forest this weekend. And, yeah, we do have to beat Benfica. I think Inter Milan at home was the only wake-up call we need, that if we're not 100%, if we're hitting the post rather than tucking it in the net, that, we could slip up. But, I back the boys. I back Klopp to get everyone on point for each game that comes. And I think it truly is. It reminds me of the season when we won the league, where every time, it was cliched, players were laughing at the end of the season. But when reporters are asking, what are you focused on these big games coming up? They're just like, the next game, the next game, the next game, with a smile. But I think when you get to this stage of the season, you shut out everything else and only focus on the next game. So I think as supporters, we can just enjoy the ride and just, know that we got the rub of the green on some of the ties ahead. But, we can only play, as you said, each game in front of us. So let's look forward to Nottingham this weekend and, have the Champions League and other games on the horizons to look forward to.
Yeah, we will talk about the FA Cup game and the FA Cup games this weekend in a little while. Matty, back onto Benfica, I mean, I'm sure even them and their fans would admit they maybe don't have the defensive prowess of a Diego Simeone side. Drew mentioned the fact that we've got to be on our game, and if we were to miss chances, that could end up screwing us over. But does the fact that in these Champions League games you can do it over 2 legs, does that alleviate that pressure up against what could be a staunch, difficult side to play?
Yeah, obviously, if we don't go over to Lisbon and batter them, then we've got Anfield in the second leg. So I think that's always in the back of your mind. But I just can't see anything but Liverpool demolishing them, to be honest with you. The Portuguese league's not up to Premier League standard, and then Liverpool and Manchester City are on the league of their own and top of the Premier League, really. So, and like I said, these are not just like 12 points behind Porto, so not just a little bit behind them, to be honest. They're like a good few points behind them. And Porto, we dismantled them, and we do every time we get them. So I don't think it's going to be a dead easy game. Like I said, they are in the quarterfinals for a reason, but I just think Liverpool are just far more superior to Benfica, to the point that it could even be over in the first leg, where you could maybe be resting key players in that game in Anfield.
If that were the case, Drew, how massive do you think that could be? Because it's shaping up to, if we beat Nottingham Forest as well, it's shaping up to potentially be quite a busy April for us. Of course, the Man City game falls into that category. If we were able to get a good result away from home and potentially rest some players in the second leg, how well could that set us up for the final run-in, do you think? Or will that not have much of an effect?
I think it will have a slight effect. Like, it can't hurt to have the option to come back to Anfield and not have to play the full squad. Like, getting players rest when they can, that's huge. So there's that. And I think the psychological bounce from it would be great too, because you'd still want players like hungry for it, still wanting to play and just enjoying themselves. Like, I imagine if Pep had any hair, that he'd be, pulling it out by now at, what he has to look forward to in the weeks ahead. But, you just see a brilliant atmosphere around the Liverpool crowd. Like, I think as supporters, you just see it since we had Diaz come in. Like, the place is just lifted and everything's just flowing from there. And anything that comes, like any advantage, like a big away win to come at home and know that you can go all out at Manchester City, and then have that cushion, so to speak, for the game against Benfica, and just tell the players when they go out to Man City, just give it your all. We'll put you on the bench for the Benfica game at home, and if we need you, you can come on. If not, kick back and enjoy the show.
And the draw for the semi-final was technically already been done as well, Matty. And I think you and I both agree on this. A lot of ifs, buts, and maybes, but say that we get through. First of all, do you think the Yellow Submarine, I believe it's still Unai Emery managing at Villarreal, do you think that they've got what it takes to cause an upset for Bayern? But if not, and we end up playing Bayern in the semis, how do you fancy us in that game? I know you're going to say that we'll win it, but in what way?
I do think Villarreal could cause an upset, to be honest with you. They dismantled Juventus, and Juventus aren't exactly a weak side, are they? But I think Bayern are more superior than Juventus, so I think it'll be a good game. Unai Emery's fantastic in Europe. We've seen that year after year. But I do think Bayern will edge them, and I think we'll beat Bayern. I strongly don't believe that this Bayern Munich side is much better than the side that we dismantled a few years ago when we won the Champions League. So the side that won it, they had the addition of Thiago and Coutinho, who were both fantastic for them, and we've took Thiago, and Villa have got Coutinho now. So I'm not fearful of Bayern Munich at all, really. They've got Upamecano at the back. We've seen last year that he's no match for our attacking prowess, really. So people will fear Bayern Munich, but I'm not worried over 2 legs. That's 2 games to basically outscore them, and I'm pretty comfortable that we'll be able to do that. Obviously, Lewandowski's a threat. He's arguably the best player in the world right now, up there with Salah. But I do think when he's coming up against Van Dijk and Joel Matip this year, who has probably been the second best centre-half in world football this year, then is he going to get past them? And I don't think he will, because we kept them quite a few years ago.
High mobility troop, high QMARS as well. We will get into your comments at some point. Just want to get both the boys' takes on this. Drew, what are your thoughts on Bayern? Because I'm in the same camp as Matty. I mean, I had the luxury of going to watch them play by Leverkusen a couple of weeks ago, and I really wasn't impressed with them. I saw a Thomas Muller own goal, which I never thought I'd see in my life. That's not a sentence I thought I'd say. And Lewandowski was kept very quiet by an average Bayer Leverkusen side. Obviously, that week they then went and smashed an Austrian side, RB Salzburg, in the Champions League. But does that really scare you? How do you feel about them as an opposition, potential opposition in the semi-finals?
I think they're obviously a good team, but I just back Liverpool in this case. I think when you break it down, like Matty said, their defense isn't something to be particularly worried about. And I think their offensive threat, with the likes of Trent pushing up, I don't think they can. I think Liverpool can really suppress them and cover them early to the point where they're on the back foot, as opposed to how they're used to playing, controlling and dictating the game. I actually don't see much difference between when we last faced them in the Champions League. I don't see it going much differently than that. I think Bayern, I don't think the German league, it's difficult, but I don't think it's as tough as the Premier League. And it's one of those ones where I think other leagues suffer when they have to really ramp it up to their highest gear when they play a team like Liverpool or City, where they're not used to playing opposition that are that tricky each week. So Liverpool seem to be flying in top gear and are able to go wherever they need to get the win over two legs. I don't see Bayern being able to take on Liverpool on an individual basis. They have threats to look after, but Lewandowski, Van Dijk's more than capable of keeping them quiet. As it Alonso at the back, or Alphonse. Excuse me. Another one who's, I think will be surprised when Trent bombs forward. I don't think he'll be able to get as high up as he's used to. But yeah, it's a game I feel comfortable about, and I think a tie if not comfortably, we solidly get through over two legs.
Well, I'm glad we're all on the same boat. I think a lot of people are, this could easily come back to bite me in the arse, but I feel like a lot of people are overestimating Bayern Munich, and it's like what Matty said. I don't think they are the same team that won the Champions League. If anything, and they're no better than the team that we beat the year before. So it will be interesting, but of course we do have to beat Benfica first, and we do all need to remember that. Bojack, hope you're doing well. Ayush as well. Bojack says Trent is out for up to 6 weeks. We could talk about that briefly. That's going to have a huge bearing on things. Matty believes it's a Klopp playing a 6D chess.
Trent's not injured at all. Fergie, amongst Fergie's best years, now I hated him at United, but you've got to admire just how good of a manager he was. And he's notoriously said he used to have his players say they were injured before international break so that he didn't have to go. And when you look at that England squad, Kyle Walker's not in it, but Trent was. So Klopp's probably just being like Trent. Trent, to be honest with you could see the times when he has played for England, he has some national anthem, stuff like that. They don't like him there, like all the fans. So why would he go? Do you know what I mean? He's not really that arse. You can see he's not arse when he's missed out in the past. So the club are going to say that he's injured and stuff, and Klopp's going to say that he's injured. But I strongly believe after that international break, Trent Alexander-Arnold will be miraculously recovered, and the 6 weeks wasn't 6 weeks, and he's been exceptional in his recovery. Because let's face it, he probably wasn't going to play on the weekend anyway. He's probably going to give him a rest. You can cope with James Milner or someone at right back against Forest, I think. So, I don't think he's injured. I think he'll be back straight away after the international break, because why would he go to England?
Drew, what's your take on this? I'm a bit sort of on the fence, because I agree with Bojack. I don't think we haven't seen too many of those types of mind games from Klopp. But even if it is, it's a hamstring, like a little niggle, he said, roughly. That up to 6 weeks, but that could be a 2-week job. So he could be back for the next game. And of course, City's not for a week or two after that as well.
Yeah, I think Matty hit the nail on the head. He wasn't probably scheduled to play this weekend anyway, so he's already probably in rest mode, depending on how serious the injury is. Yeah, the hamstrings, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a tweak, something like he felt it in training or at the game, and, they're not sure, and they're just like, all right, we'll give you some time off. We'll book this schedule, I don't think it's so much as mind games as just giving him that comfort level. And maybe there is a little bit of will he, won't he be fit for Man City? But with the rest and the medical staff, you see, I know Trent's different than Harvey Elliott, but you saw how fastly he came back. And I think that's one thing our medical staff has been excellent at is getting players back fit and keeping them fit for the most part. So I think they'll handle it well. And I feel like we get into this debate every time we're on the stream, but Joe Gomez at right back for me.
Oh, no, don't say that name of Bojack in the stream. Don't say that name in the stream.
But playing I'll give the caveat, playing the likes of Watford, I think Joe Gomez, not to take Watford lightly when we come back, but if Trent needs that extra game or that extra week to get ready for Man City, I'm confident in Joe Gomez putting in a shift, not offensively, but defensively.
So, whilst we've got Bojack here and we've obviously incited something within him by mentioning Joe Gomez's name, and that's a totally different video. What's your alternative, Bojack? This is a question for you. It's James Milner. Nico Williams is out on loan. I'd rather play his grandmother. Okay, well, that answers that then. Getting back on topic to the Champions League, because, of course, there are other draws as well. On the other side, in the other potential semi-finals, we've got Chelsea versus Real Madrid, Man City versus Atletico. So, obviously, the last time that we got deeper into the competition, we faced Atletico just before COVID. Diego Simeone, as much as I cannot stand him, I hate him, he did put on somewhat of a defensive masterclass. I don't want to give him too much credit because ultimately we missed loads of chances and Adrian handed them the game. Do you think he's got what it takes to cause something similar for Man City to really get underneath Pep Guardiola and his side? Matty, I'll direct that at you.
Yeah, he does. He'll be right up for that, Simeone. He likes the big games, especially against someone like Pep. He's come up against Pep before, and when Pep was at Barcelona, he's Atletico, obviously, and he relishes the games like that. Simeone, they were a very, very good side. That game against United the other day, I watched it, and they played, I think I seen a stat, something stupid, like the ball was out to play for 13 minutes in the second half. Like the experts are killing games off when it needs to be killed off, and they got through that United game without even using the likes of Luis Suarez, who was on the bench. They've got a phenomenal side. And I do think they could edge City. I've just got this mad feeling that Pep's going to do one of his European blunders, to be honest with you, and overthink the game too much. And I think Atletico will do them. I really do. I think that's a tie that when I seen it, I was like, okay, they could go out here, because I don't fear City at all, but I don't want them in the final. Like, I can't be asked if they did beat us with them winning it up against us, you know what I mean? So I do think City could go out there, and if they don't go out there, I think Real Madrid could do City as well, to be honest with you. They've been really good in the Champions League this year, and we've seen Benzema the other week. He's unbelievable. He should be in contention of people speaking about best players in the world. He's in that bracket, he really is. So I think City have got a really difficult route to that final.
Well, I was just about to come to Drew with sort of a similar point. Ayush says, I think City are pretty adept at opening up low blocks, but it's their finishing that might be an issue. I think this could be a very, very interesting, very back and forth chess game between Guardiola and Simeone, because of course Man City's team of late is incredibly possession orientated, like maybe the most possession based team we've ever seen in terms of its possession or nothing. Like that is what they care about beyond all else. Whereas Simeone's tactics almost cover for that, because he's against us. He was like, no, by all means, have the ball, have the ball, do what you want with it. But we're gonna set up so stiffly that it doesn't matter how much possession you're going to have, you're not going to get past us. So, Drew, coming to you, do you think this will be tight? Do you think that they could get something out of it, Atletico Madrid?
I think it'll be extremely tight. I don't know if they'll get through over 2 legs, but I know City are going to be absolutely drained by the end of the tie. As Matty said, the game against Man U, where they just took so long, they took the edge out of the game. They literally frustrated Man United the whole way through. That's the kind of stuff that can really get under Pep's skin. And I think the reverse, as you said, they're perfectly set up to counter Man City. Like one of the things you see when you see Atletico play is they have quality in the team, in the midfield and the attack. And I think when other teams set up back against Man City and get all their players behind the ball, they don't have the quality to pass out when the ball turns over, and they ultimately lose the ball. But if you saw the Atletico versus United game, they're doing one-touch passing to get it out, and they're in the clear. And I think that's the biggest weakness for City is when they lose the ball. If a team can break through that midfield and get a run at their defense, they're pretty exposed because they have so much support coming up the sides with the likes of Cancelo and Walker supporting. So like Atletico have the perfect setup to hit them on the counter. And if they can frustrate City, as we saw them frustrate United, as we've seen them frustrate us, it'll just be a huge headache for Pep Guardiola. And with the second leg at home too for Atletico, I know there's no difference with away goals or home goals, but the fact that they're playing that second leg in Atletico, the Cauldron, of Atletico's home stadium, that is just amazing. So I don't see City having the best traveling support either. So that's not that's surely not an easy tie. I think they might squeeze it through. I think Pep, this might be his chance to prove, but you never know. He could completely drop the ball and just, Atletico can squeeze it out, and you see Simeone celebrating on the sidelines.
Yeah, it's a sight I'd absolutely hate to see, but if they could do us a favour, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Ayush makes another good point. I don't know if the schedule is completely confirmed, but in essence, so it is Atletico. It would be Atletico, LFC Atletico.
Yeah.
I mean, how massive could that be? Because obviously, as long as we're still in the title race, that has to be our number one priority, Matty. How massive could that be? How draining that would be on Man City?
Well, like I said before, with our tie, we could pretty much wrap it up in the first leg if we really wanted to, and then you've got City, and then the players can then have a rest against Benfica, where City are probably going to be in a position where they probably can't rest against anything really, the full throttle and their whole 3 ties. But the game before us, especially, like Atletico is the type of team who can frustrate you. It's going to go one or two ways. City are going to absolutely batter them, or they're going to be very, very frustrated, and that's just pretty much how City seem to play this year. And I think if Atletico frustrate them, they can drain them with a lot of energy right before us, and it's only benefiting Liverpool really with them games either side of that. That's the biggest game of the season, and we've got Benfica watched either side of it, where they've got Atletico Madrid. It's a stark comparison, really.
So just moving on a little bit, we can always come back to it if a few people want to keep on talking about it. The FA Cup ties this weekend. Tomorrow, Middlesbrough versus Chelsea. So obviously Middlesbrough have kind of been the surprise package, knocking out Manchester United, and I can't remember who they knocked out after that. If anyone
is it Arsenal?
Remember.
Or before?
It might have been Arsenal. If anyone knows, please do let us know in the live comments. I've completely forgotten. But they come up against Chelsea, a Chelsea team who, even though they're going through so much off the pitch, they're on a bit of a winning run in the Premier League. They haven't lost. Well, they've won their last 5 or 6 on the trot, I believe. Drew, do you think it ends for Middlesbrough at this point? Can you really see them getting anything? I know they're at home, but do you really see them even being able to get to extra time penalties against the Chelsea side?
I'm really rooting for them. I think if there's any game that Chelsea could slip up against, it could be this one. After traveling away to Lille, with the restricted accommodations that they're afforded, I think that, maybe players didn't get enough rest, whatever have it. Maybe they're just not on their game for the FA Cup, thinking they can, if there's a game to take it easy, this is the one. Maybe Middlesbrough take advantage of that. But as you said, Chelsea's in fine form. And I actually think all this chaos surrounding their club is bringing them together on the pitch. If there's any motivation that you can take from this, it's to power through this and get the results on the pitch and kind of fight whatever's going on outside. But from that case, I really don't see Middlesbrough carrying on past this stage, but I'm hoping they push Chelsea really hard and maybe get lucky.
I don't think we've talked about it too much on this channel, but Matty, just sort of generally, it feels like it's quietened down a little bit, all the controversy that's going on at Chelsea. But what do you see personally happening with this? Do you really think that there's going to be a situation where they are in deep shit? Or do you think that there'll just be another billionaire who comes along and sweeps them up for a cut price deal, ultimately, if Abramovich isn't allowed to sort of make a profit or be a part of the sale? Do you think that they're going to suffer, or will they be okay in the end?
I think they already are in deep shit, to be honest with you, because regardless of who comes in and buys Chelsea, Abramovich was smart in his business, and Chelsea, the way he put money into Chelsea was through loans of himself and his company. So whoever buys Chelsea, they are in debt straight away of, I think it's 1.5 billion or something, to Roman Abramovich and his companies. So he's not just going to say wipe that debt. He's a businessman, and yeah, he may love Chelsea, but he's not going to wipe that debt. He'll wait these sanctions out, however long they may be, and there'll be a resolution, really. And I do think that this game against Middlesbrough is the first game where they haven't got any fans, isn't it? And the disrespect of them to be asking for Middlesbrough to not have fans either, it's just a madness, and it just shows the level of the club, really. And Carragher summed it up, boss, on Sky, to be fair. He said, like, all the Chelsea fans asking for people to feel sorry for them. Like, they've been coming in and just taking players from every club they wanted and stuff for years. And I agree with it. Like, I am really, really enjoying that Chelsea could be in demise, to be honest with you. And it just showed that I've got no sympathy for them as well, because we've seen several times when there's been things for Ukraine before the games that they've been chanting Abramovich's name, and they're just a horrible club, horrible fan base. So I do think another billionaire will buy them. They're a very, very attractive piece of business for someone with all that money, to be fair, because they are successful. They've got a good squad. They've got a world-class manager. So another billionaire will come in, but it's how much they do bankroll them, to be honest, because there's a lot of money in the Premier League, and they've got to come in and bankroll it, and they might not do it like Abramovich did. He'll just give them money in loans whenever they want.
I almost forgot, and you'll just see it going across the bottom of your screens there. We are partnered up with Manscaped today. If you go to, I don't know if the link's in the video description, is it, Matty? To Manscaped's website? Probably not, but
No, right, yeah.
just search them up, Manscaped, you'll find it. It's a big website. Anything you want, ball trimmers, nose trimmers, all that good stuff. Go to the checkout and enter the code TR2020. That's Tango Romeo 2020 for 20% off and free shipping. Great deal, and it also does support this channel. So if you like this channel, you like us, go over there and get stuff for either yourself, your family members, or your friends, or whatever.
It's in the description now.
There we go. The link is now in the video description below, so make sure you do check it out. On the Sunday in the FA Cup, obviously we face Nottingham Forest. I'll get onto that in a moment. But it's Southampton versus Man City. So whilst there's a lot of talk of the quadruple, Drew, a lot of people forget that Man City are still on for a triple, which would equal Man United's treble-winning season in '99. Southampton, a bit of an up-and-down team under Ralph Hasenhüttl. He feels like he could be a big manager one day. Maybe just doesn't have the type of players to exactly play what he wants. But every now and then he comes up with a tactical masterclass against a bigger team. Do you see something like that happening this weekend?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping again just for another tough run of fixtures for City, just one after another leading up to us. And I was hopeful when I first saw the draw that Southampton would be able to put in a very stressful performance for City, possibly even get a result or put it into penalties. They haven't had the best run of form lately. I think leading up to that draw, they were, having consecutive wins against bigger clubs and putting in good performances, but they've been on a bit of a slide. So I don't know if City will just mop that up. I have a feeling it could be one of those games where they just pull a goal early, 1-0, and then get the second goal. And it's just one of those games where, there was nothing really in it. But if Southampton can push it as late as possible, potentially nick a goal or push it into extra time, that's all I'm asking for.
Our resident statman highlights, for anybody who's interested, Wolverhampton Wanderers have just taken the lead against Leeds United, so a potentially big goal down at the bottom of the table. If you're a Leeds fan or an Everton fan or anything like that. Matty, coming to you with the same question, basically, can Southampton pull anything out of the bag? Or, Southampton, it feels like they're kind of in limbo in the Premier League now. There's not too much of a risk of them going down. Not going to get Europe, so a deep cup run might be nice for them, but is that enough to inspire a worldie against Man City?
I think they can. I do think they can. Like Drew said, we've seen Ralph pull off decent results a few times within his career in the Premier League, so I think they can. But part of me wants City to progress, to be honest with you, because the more fixtures, I think Liverpool will progress, and I don't want City to have any more time off than what we're having, if that makes sense, because I don't want them to be focused on that league. I want to win that league again, especially now there's fans back in the ground. Because I was robbed of seeing it, to be honest with you, when we did see it, so it still leaves that bittersweet taste. So I want City to progress. It sounds mad, but they're then going to have an FA Cup game the same weekend as we'll have a semi-final game. I'm pretty sure they'd have to play the Sunday one as well. When I'm sure I've seen something a few days ago, when you go deeper into it, I think Liverpool would have to play the Saturday one due to having an away tie, I think, in the Champions League on the Wednesday. Is that right? Or something mad like that. So we'd have to play the Saturday game or something stupid like that. So I want them to progress. I do want them to progress, because I do think that even if we get City in the semi or in the final, I think we can beat them. But I just want them to continue playing as many games as we're playing, just so that the league's still interesting. And I do believe if we got City in the Champions League final and the FA Cup final, I think we'd win all four still, to be honest. So, but I do think that keeping them in the competition has a few benefits to Liverpool's side of things.
Do you take that point on board, Drew? I mean, I guess in essence, it's potentially only an extra game. Semi-finals, we could end up facing them there. Who knows? But is that enough for you to be okay with them progressing?
I'm caught in two minds, because for me, the argument against it is just giving time for Pep to doubt himself and then pull one of his implosions where he then starts questioning his tactics, and that leaks over into the Premier League and the Champions League after getting knocked out of the FA Cup. But so I'd say I'd want as many hiccups or bumps in the road for them as possible. Every time a game goes to as far as possible where the other team's pushing them, I want those doubts to creep in. I want that to start being the habit of Man City, to doubt their own ability, to doubt getting over the line. So any kind of hiccup or bump in the road that can happen to get them in that mentality, I want that to happen. So if they could get knocked out early, they'll take the positive. Oh yeah, we can focus on the bigger trophies. But I want them in the back of their minds thinking, wow, we just got knocked out by Southampton. And, what does that mean when we come up against Atletico?
Talking about those bumps in the roads, Matty, just sort of taking a step back to last week or whenever it was, a 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace. I didn't see that coming at all. I thought they'd steamroll Crystal Palace. And it's one of those where a couple of seasons ago in that record-breaking, losing it by a point, 97 points is ridiculous. They had a similar situation when they played against Leicester City, and then we all know what happened. Vincent Kompany scored the best goal of his entire career to almost just put beyond doubt that they were going to shithouse their way to a title that year. And I was just expecting something similar here. As the minutes creeped down, I still thought I'm going to look at my phone at some point and see that Man City have scored. And watching the highlights, John Stones actually had an effort from about 45 yards that just went past the post. Does that signal a bit of a change for you? Do you think that as Drew says, that kind of those bumps in the road. They've got a couple now, obviously losing to Everton, now unable to find a way past Crystal Palace. Do you think they might be starting to build up, starting to snowball, and causing some doubts for an otherwise perfect side?
I think City will slip up again in the league. I said it on a stream, I think it was before that game, because I did say how good of a side Palace was, and they could take points off City. And I do think City can slip up again. Sides have shown you can beat them if you take the game to them. You can beat Manchester City, and I do think that the pressure might get to them. But let's not forget they have won plenty of leagues. This squad, so. And that's what I mean by keeping them in competitions longer, because it's just more games. They haven't got the mentality to go on all fronts where Liverpool have, because that year we won the Champions League, we were robbed of the league by a point. So I do think that we can go on all fronts where they probably can't. And I do think they'll slip up again, to be honest with you, before the end of the season, not including our game, because I do strongly believe we'll beat them there. But I don't think, as much as the Liverpool City game's got massive importance, I don't think it'll come down to whoever wins the league, because I do believe City will slip up again.
Just looking through the comments, there's a lot of conversation about what's going on at Chelsea, and I can't find the comment now. I think it was Aish made a question to us. If there was wide scale sales is what I meant to say, at Chelsea. Conor Gallagher, playing a bit of Football Manager now, because of course there's lots of players we'd like to sign. But take for instance a Conor Gallagher. Matty, is that someone you think might fit our style of play? He's very much a box-to-box midfielder, and I don't know if he quite play that way.
I do like him. I do think he's a fantastic player, but he's a bit too similar to what we've already got. If Liverpool are going to add to that midfield, I want to see us go and get someone who can bring something different to the midfield. Someone like, whether I don't think it can happen, but someone like Jude Bellingham or Gravenberch or someone like that. I don't know Gravenberch with Viola, so I don't know how likely that is to happen. But I'd like to see someone like that, someone who's got a bit more what they can bring to the team, whereas Gallagher's too similar to what we've got, in my opinion. He's a fantastic footballer, really has shown at Crystal Palace this year. But let's not forget at West Brom last year, he was awful. So he's only had one good season under his belt. So it's a gamble if you went and bought him for, say, 20-odd million. But can he replicate that every single year on year? You'd rather go and get someone who's a little bit more proven, who can add more. But I do think he's a fantastic football player. I just don't think he's better than what we've currently got in midfield. I think we could attract a better name with more to offer, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't think we've ever been linked with him. It is just pure would you, wouldn't you, Drew? Is he someone you'd like? But I suppose the best way to put it is, would you take him over somebody else that you would like us to sign, is the best way to phrase it.
I think it comes down to who moves out of the club first. I think if we start letting, I can't see Ox and Keita staying. I think Keita's obviously the nod ahead of Ox and has shown, started to show again what he can bring to the club if he gets some consistent form. And that credits Matty's point on, players we already have that similar to Gallagher. But I think if we start letting go more players, which seems likely this summer, then we'll see where we're at. I certainly wouldn't mind having Gallagher in the team, but I think for me, I want to see someone like Serge Gnabry get into the side. I think if we're going to start bringing in players, unless they're young prospects, I want the finished article. And I think we're at that stage now. I always quote Steven Gerrard for, breaking into the team when describing his own youth progression, where he said that not only do you have to be the best player in the academy, you have to be better than the player in the first team. And I think with Liverpool, we're showing that our first team players are some of the best players in Europe and the world. So whoever is going to try to get into our squad has to be at that level. So I think we're at the stage where we're getting players like a Luis Diaz, where we want them to be there or thereabouts. And I don't think we really need to gamble at this point. I think Matty's comments about Gallagher having one good season is on point. And unless we can pick him up for, a bargain with Chelsea's situation, then I'd say we go for an elite player.
So now turning attention, a bit of a mini preview, I guess, for our game on Sunday, 6 p.m. kickoff, which is a little bit awkward, away to Nottingham Forest. It's interesting from Klopp. He has confirmed that Alisson will be our FA Cup keeper. Matty, do you think this is a sign that, we're getting into the business end of the season? Obviously, he is aware of that expectation to win as many trophies as we possibly can. And do you think this is him starting to take these competitions a little bit more seriously now?
I think Klopp wants to win it all. I honestly do. I mean, I said at the start of the season, I think he'll go for the FA Cup because the only thing Hendo hasn't won, to be fair, in his time at Liverpool. So if Hendo wins that, he's won Everton. There is to offer in England. So, but this comment about Alisson being in goals did surprise me because Queve's done exceptional when he's been called upon this season. I don't understand why he is starting Sunday. But I'm not going to argue against him. He's the best keeper in the world. So whenever he's in between the sticks, I'm confident, to be fair. So I'm happy about it. But I think we'll see a much stronger side than what people maybe expect on Sunday. I think he will go for it. And why not? We're in a quarterfinals, another day out at Wembley on the cards if we win it, which I do think we will. And we've got the chance to make history. No one's ever won the quadruple in English football before, and if Liverpool ultimately win all their games now at the end of the season, we win all 4 trophies. So Klopp and that side, they just want to keep creating history, keep making and breaking their own records, and that's what they're going to do, I think. And I think it's going to be full throttle against Nottingham Forest. I don't think we'll see any of the kids, to be honest with you, at all.
Just quickly staying on the Alisson decision, Drew, because I don't know how to feel about it. I'm kind of in the middle. As Matty says, I think it's almost unfair on Queve, and that almost again brings into question of whether he might move on. Essentially, he's the best second choice keeper that we've had for donkey's years. I can't think of one. So the fact that essentially between now and the end of the season, we might not see him play again. How do you take that? Is it really a risk to play him and rest Alisson, or are you more on just the side of no, we've got to play our best players at this point?
I wouldn't be bothered either way. I feel bad for Kelleher, but he did get his trophy, so I'm happy he's got that. He's got that in the bag, and he'll always have that. Regardless of what happens to him at his career at Liverpool. And for Alisson stepping up, I think it's the flip side of what I was saying about bumps in the road for City, like just the consistency of winning, like getting everyone in, just winning at, however it's done, just building that momentum, not making too many changes. I think just getting that momentum going, the consistency of winning game after game after game is just the mentality that Klopp's honing in for this final stretch of the season. Like if you've seen, we won 9 games on the bounce or 13, 14 total with the Inter game in the middle. But just keep on pushing that, keep on getting the players in, not too many changes, not too many tweaks. Yeah, this is a game where we could rest players and we'll see some players rested, but we have the squad to come in to, back up and show up. So I don't think, maybe Konate and Van Dijk will be the center back partnership. I don't think Klopp's thinking wholesale changes at this point in the season. I think, it's a little tough on the guys who have got us there, but this is the business end of the season, and we need to get as much momentum and as much consistency as possible in my mind.
Bojack very active in the chat, which is always good to see. I don't always agree with him, but I do admire his certainty in everything he says. You're not convincing him of anything else, which is fair enough. Everyone's entitled to that. Matty, he says, first of all, he says Klopp won't have an eye on the quadruple, and maybe he's right. He does come across as that kind of guy. It is very game by game, but who knows? But the main point I wanted to get onto was that he says, forget the FA Cup. I kind of get what he's going with there, but the fact that we're up against a championship team in the quarterfinals, and if we win this, that means we're going to Wembley. We can't risk playing too much of a weakened side because we could easily trip up and ruin a great chance to get into the semis and be going to Wembley again. Surely that's the way we've got to be thinking about this, right?
Yeah, 100%. I just want me and I know along with many other Liverpool fans just want another day out at Wembley. To be honest with you, that final the other week, like when I was there, I was just thinking it's been so long since we've been here for a meaningful cup. I know we've had a few Community Shields in the meantime. One was disrupted by COVID, but it's just Liverpool years and years and years ago. We're in Wembley every year. It's called Anfield South for a reason by our fans. So, like, why would you forget the domestic cups? I mean, I know they're not. You don't get as much money, and I know they're not as important as winning the Premier League and Champions League. But exactly what you've said, we're in the quarterfinals of a cup here. We're one game away from Wembley, which I don't agree with. I think the semi-final should be on a neutral ground, but that's a story for another day. But I just don't understand why you wouldn't go all guns blazing to win everything. Like, you want to win every piece of silverware that's an offer every single season, whether that be the League Cup, whether that be the Premier League. You want to win it all, and that's how these players cement legacies. And these players who play for Liverpool all want a legacy, and that's what they're going to do. If that means going and winning all 4 cups this year, I think they will. And I don't think Klopp's thinking, forget about the FA Cup. This is the first time in Klopp's 7-8 years at Liverpool that I've seen him really go for the domestic trophies. And it's good to see, to be honest with you, because that day out at Wembley the other week was a belter. So I want another one, to be honest.
Matthias, thank you. Well, yeah, I assume it's Matthias is how you say it. So we've got 2 Matthiases in the chat now, but thank you for getting involved. We have already discussed the Champions League draw, so do feel free to rewind to the beginning of the stream, and we did talk about that if you wanted to get our opinion, but if not, do stick around. So we'll turn our attention. We are, we're 45 minutes in. We're coming towards the end. We'll turn our attention to the one interesting Premier League fixture, I think, from this weekend is Aston Villa versus Arsenal as well on the Saturday, which is quite intriguing. But the big sort of top 4 clash, I know West Ham is slightly falling out of it, but Tottenham Hotspur versus West Ham is very interesting to me. Tottenham Hotspur, they seem to have turned a corner, perhaps, under Antonio Conte. Harry Kane's now starting to get his striking boots back on. Him and Son have sort of rekindled that relationship. Coming up against the West Ham side, who have just got through to the quarterfinals of the Europa League and could potentially end up facing Barcelona in a semi-final, which is quite incredible. Good evening, Tar. Hope you're enjoying your day in Liverpool, or if you're back in London or not. So, Matty, coming straight to you. What's your prediction for that game? We'll start with that.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I think Tottenham may get beat, because I said this on a stream a few weeks ago that Tottenham can pull off results against the likes of City and then go and get beat the week later, and then they got beat. Like, that's just such a Tottenham thing to do. They are at home, so Tottenham, so they have got that advantage. But West Ham are playing well, and it's one of them for David Moyes now, isn't it? Like, if he wins the Europa League, he's in the Champions League next year anyway. So
yeah,
will he focus more on that? Do I think they could win the Europa League? It'd be interesting, because Barca have been playing well, so I think that's got their name all over it. But even to go that far in the Europa League, he's creating history there. So it depends what he focuses on more. But if West Ham turn up, West Ham do Tottenham, in my opinion.
Drew, in terms of the top 4 race in general, I mean, the 4 teams competing for it are Arsenal, Man United, West Ham and Tottenham. Man United and West Ham have both played 29 games. Arsenal still have 2 games in hand on 27. Tottenham, on the other hand, have played 28, so they're in the middle, still with a game in hand on the other 2. And there's 3 points in it between all 3 of those teams. Are Arsenal your favourites, or, if Tottenham pick up a result here, they then go level on points with Arsenal? Do they then become favourites, perhaps?
I think Arsenal's is a lot tougher than people think. The 2 games in hand that they have are against, I believe, Tottenham and Chelsea. So it's not an easy, that's not an easy pickup of points for Arsenal. They could easily lose both those games. And one of those games against Tottenham could directly influence the top 4 race. So as much as I hate to say it, I think United actually has the best chance of getting in the top 4. But I'm hoping a team like Tottenham, or actually I don't want Tottenham to get too close either. I kind of want West Ham to show up and do them now, and then Tottenham to just kind of peter out, because we still have to play them I know it's at home at Anfield, but I don't want them, with the challenge of top 4 on the cards. So if they can get eliminated from that race as quickly as possible, that's what I'm hoping for. So I don't like Arsenal. That's why I don't want them getting a top 4. But I hate United more. So I guess I'd give it to Arsenal at this point. But I don't know. Whoever wins West Ham or Tottenham, that will make things really interesting. I'd love for West Ham to just do both, but we'll see. I think Tottenham will win, though, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Matty, going back to your point on West Ham, I mean, they've got quite a small side for a team that are competing in the Europa League, which is, of course, that little bit bigger and a few extra games than the Champions League campaign. I guess it's all well and good thinking, maybe we've got a shot at winning it, but they can't afford to be putting too many of their eggs in one basket, can they? They've still got to be pushing as hard as they can in this fixture as well, haven't they?
Yeah, they have really. I mean, I think they've more or less secured Europa League, have they, for next year? Or what? They've definitely
is it top 7? Is it 6th and 7th? Or no,
5th and 6th. There's Europa League, isn't it? And there's a 6th and 7th Conference League. So I think they've more or less secured Europe. So it depends how much David Moyes believes that they could break into that top 4. If he believes they can, then I think they will go for it. If he believes that they probably won't, then there's no point going full steam ahead, is there, when you've got like quarterfinals, Europa Leagues and stuff to competing in. So it'll be interesting to see how he does manage the squad. I think West Ham have got a fantastic team. I think they play really well together. What Moyes is doing there is fantastic, but they're overachieving year on year, so they are bound to slip. Like when people were talking them being in the top 4, I never thought that could happen, and I still don't think that it can happen. So for West Ham, they should be focusing on the Europa League, Barcelona, and maybe Rangers, but Rangers are beatable. The only teams that really I could think maybe do West Ham, but other than that, you can win anyone on the day, and we've seen Barcelona slip up a few times this year. So if I was a West Ham fan, I'd be wanting the Europa League more than anything, because I don't think top 4 is obtainable for them really anyway.
Yeah. Drew, I'm just looking back through Tottenham's form. So obviously they beat Man City, then they lost to Burnley, then they smashed Leeds, then they lost to Middlesbrough in the FA Cup, then they smashed Everton, then they lost to Man United, and then they beat Brighton. That's got to be the most up and down, the definition of up and down form. Yeah, Spurs form. So by the law of averages, that they're probably going to lose tomorrow. It's tough. Top 4, it's surely the race of who can be the most consistent going forward. Because for the last few seasons, the top 4 race, everything I can remember about it is just coming towards the end of the season, week after week, someone from that group is losing and dropping points continuously, and it's just about who can pick up points consistently, I guess.
Yeah, and the hilarious thing is that you have the most inconsistent teams fighting for 4th. So that makes for a very entertaining final few weeks to see who claims that spot. But I take on what Matty said about West Ham and the Europa League. I think they should be going for that. If they can get silverware, especially in a competition like that, that would be historic for the club. So I would put all their focus into that. And but as you said, they don't have like the most expansive squad, so I don't think you get much changes regardless, league or Europe at this point. But Tottenham, you just don't really know. But I think at home against a West Ham side that just had a Europa League game, they'll probably have enough to get through it. And yeah, again, I'm conflicted because I don't want Tottenham anywhere near the hunt when they come to Anfield, where a result could be really well for them. I want them on the beach already, and Conte, potentially looking at PSG.
Yeah. Well, this video's flown by. I'm just before we sort of cap off, I'm just keen to get your score predictions for the Nottingham Forest game. So I guess it depends on what kind of team you think Klopp's going to put out. So if I could just get like a brief summary of that and your score predictions, we'll start with you, Drew.
Yeah, I think a couple people in the comments misinterpreted what I meant by going full force in the quarterfinal. Like, I think minimal changes, but keeping the likes of Salah and Mane on the bench to come on if necessary. I think Minamino has earned the right to start, obviously. I think, either Jota or, I think Diaz should get a rest. Maybe someone else, maybe Origi comes on. But I don't think Klopp's going to put wholesale changes and put, a bunch of academy players in. That's where I'm going at. We have the squad now to challenge and put on a good team on the pitch, no matter who we put on at this point. But I think he keeps the all-stars on the bench just in case, and I think Liverpool calmly gets it done 2-0.
And Matty, how about you?
I think we'll surprise people, and I think he will go full strength. To be honest, we haven't got a game after this till Watford on the 2nd of April, so I think we'll go strong, but there will be some changes. I think you'll see Canate partner Van Dijk. I think you'll see Kostas play instead of Robbo, maybe Milner at right back, and then I don't think you'll see Salah. I think probably will be Taki, maybe Luis Diaz, maybe Curtis Jones or Harvey Elliott get a start. So I don't think we'll turn them over, but then I do think we'll beat them comfortably. So I'm going to say 4-1. To be honest, I think we'll beat them 4-1. It's got a lot of meaning, this game as well. I think we haven't played them since 1989. So it'll be an emotional game as well. So it's one of them games where you do need experienced heads, because don't really like Nottingham Forest fans. They don't really like us. And then there's got a lot of meaning behind it as well in terms of the last time we played them. So I do think an experienced head within the squad, if not heads, will probably be better. We're not going to go there and they're going to be quiet. They're going to be well up for it. And Nottingham Forest fans don't like Liverpool, and Liverpool fans don't like them. So it's going to be a rowdy game, but I think a comfortable 3-1 win.
Yes, I think that confidence is shown in the group chat as well. The live chat as well. A few predictions. Matthias going for a 3-1. I saw a couple of 2-0s as well. We will, of course, have a watch along for that on this channel on Sunday with myself. So if kickoff's at 6, then I'll be on from about 5:30. So if you are new, make sure that you stick around for that. But yeah, I think that we've covered everything in pretty good detail. Again, just before we do go, make sure you do check out Manscaped, link in the video description below. Get all of your essential needs for downstairs and up the nostrils. I don't know if they do shavers for the general face as well, but go and have a look. No, I don't think they do. But for all that other stuff, do go on the link in the video description. Use the code TR2020 for 20% off and free shipping to help support this channel and get all of your essentials. Thank you, Matty. Thank you, Drew, for joining me. Thank you to everybody in the live chat as well. It's been great fun, as always. We should have a video for you tomorrow, but if not, we will have the watch along on Sunday. This has been the LFC Transfer Room. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.